Hello, this is Grant Hughes of Grant Hughes Investigates on YouTube. Please hit that like button, share the video, and subscribe. Recently, I acquired the Floyd's Cannabis Shop surveillance footage, and when I put it out, people said, "Look, it has fog lights!" And, you know, everybody can see what they're talking about in terms of there's like a light, and then there's a slit, and then another light. But these people don't use critical thinking, nor do they have intellectual curiosity, because to do so would mean that their theories would be disrupted. All right. Now, we all know that the surveillance footage of it appears to be a white Elantra driving around in Pullman at 2:45 in the morning had fog lights, and law enforcement deemed later that that was not Bryan Kohberger's white Elantra because it had fog lights. And while it was used on the probable cause document, it was not a significant portion of the probable cause, as CAS data already showed that his vehicle was driving around in southeast Pullman, Washington, and ends up on the Floyd's Cannabis Shop footage, and then eventually shows up on Indian Hills Drive, etc. Now, when we watch this video right here, let's just kind of slowly move around. Here comes the vehicle in the upper right-hand corner. And I'm going to, let me just play them both at their regular speed. All right. So here comes the white Elantra at Floyd's Cannabis Shop at 3:02 and around 20 seconds. And you see it at the top of the screen driving in. And that is one of the shots. Then the second shot is this one right here. It's not as good as the first one, but you see it in the upper left-hand corner. This camera is facing to the right down the highway. And you see it in the upper left-hand corner, and it drives by the camera. Now, that one isn't as valuable, although you can make out some information. So this one's zoomed in a bit. And I'll show you what people are talking about. But I won't even bother with that portion. I'm going to go right here. Let's just show you. So see how it's driving right there? You can see right over there, there's just one headlight on, and this one's more blown out because it's closer to the camera and the angle, so you get some of that flaring effect on the camera. See how it's light on the edges there? All right, so let's just move it by, and see right there you can see that it has one headlight and another headlight. There's no fog lights on. The fog lights are down below. And then what people use is right here. They go, look, there's two lights. There's one on the top and the bottom. But if you were just using critical thinking while watching this, you can see that there's a guardrail right there. You see that? And then right there, it's not like that. And then you move forward, and then look at right when it's the guardrail, you start seeing anomalies, and then boom, it's split right there. Okay? And if we go to Google Earth right here, this is Floyd's Cannabis Shop. We see the vehicle driving like this, and then it comes around the corner. And let's go down to some 360-degree camera footage that's actually down there. All right, so this is right in front of Floyd's Cannabis Shop. There's two cameras on the building. One's facing out more like that, and the other one is straight ahead. Now, look at right here. There is a guardrail. And the reason that there's a little slit between the light is because the diffusion of light from the top and the bottom almost reach each other even when there's a guardrail in the middle. But that's what's splitting the light. There aren't two different lights there, okay? So we'll watch that again. Here we go. So here it is. You can see that it plainly has two lights. There's no fog lights. The fog lights would be down here right below that light. And then right there it splits because there is a guardrail right there. All right, so there's absolutely no question about it that what those people are claiming are regular lights and fog lights are not being intellectually honest. They probably even noticed that, but it doesn't fit the narrative that they're selling to the people who view their videos. It's absolutely dishonest, and I know that they're doing it intentionally. This video here, if we zoom in, it's hard to really get a really good shot, but right in there you can see it. And look on the right headlight, it's just the front headlight on there. But it's not as clear. It's the same vehicle, though. It's the same moment in time from Floyd's Cannabis Shop. All right? Now, once the vehicle gets to Moscow, Idaho, this is what we got here. Hold on. Right here. So it drives by on Indian Hills Drive. This is the first shot. And you see it coming by. And when you look at that, that appears to only be the headlights. There's no lower fog light that would be right down in that area. All right, now we're going to move on to the next location. This is where it's coming into the area by the A&W on, I think, Steiner Avenue. And so there it is. And you can see right here that that is where the fog lights would go. And there's even the black cover that you can see there. All right, you can actually make it out. There's darkness right where the fog lights would be. So that's the Elantra pulling into the area. And then the next shot that we can actually make out the vehicle is right down here on Ridge Road. And you can tell there's no fog lights on here. See, there's the left headlight. Now, you can always see every time one of the headlights is facing more towards the camera, it kind of blows out on the edges. But this one over here shows you that there definitely are no fog lights on. In fact, like right there where it kind of blocks out the light a little bit, you can clearly see that only the front headlights are on. There are no fog lights. And I don't know if you can see where the fog lights would go. I think that's the top of the wheel there. But right under there is where the fog lights would be, and they're not on. All right, so you go around, goes around the corner, and it starts heading towards 1122 King Road. And then as part of its looping, here's another shot of the Elantra. Again, you can see that it only has the front headlights on, no fog lights. The fog lights would be lower. There'd be much more light coming out of that area there. And so there it is driving by. And then we have another shot here. Let's see. This one is as it passes by. It's the same moment in time. It actually overlaps. So here it comes driving by, and you can see it doesn't have fog lights on. See, it's just the upper lights. Right there. Okay, and then let's move it forward here. We are now looking at, again, on Ridge Road. And this is one of the clearest shots that they have of the Elantra the whole evening. And this one is very clear that the fog lights are not on this vehicle. Yeah, we can go back to here. There we go. And drives by, but you can see that only the upper lights are on. The fog lights would be down there. In fact, you can even see kind of where the darkness is of where the fog lights would be had this car had them. All right. So that drives by, and then we're going to move forward to another shot of the vehicle. These are all shots that we just saw. These recent ones are from in the area of 1122 King Road. Oftentimes at night, surveillance footage blows out the camera, so when it's driving around in the 1122 King Road area, the complex I call it, it's hard to make out any of that information, even on using the Linda Lane footage and the one where it drives by 1112 King Road. It's hard to get a really clear shot, but I think it's consistent with not having a fog light. And we know that because it's Bryan Kohberger's vehicle. He's the one that left the DNA in the knife sheath and pled guilty in the case. All right, let's take a look at this one. Now, this is when the vehicle is coming back to Pullman, Washington. And this is from a car wash. But here it comes. And this one, you can plainly see right there, the darkness. That is where the fog lights would be, except it has the cover on it. All right, so that absolutely shows that is consistent with Kohberger's vehicle, and it matches what his cell phone is doing at the time. See, again, you can see right there. That's the blackness. And everybody's seen the images of the white Elantra when it's been impounded and it has a black covering, meaning it didn't have fog lights. It has the insert that covers the opening where the fog lights would go. And that's it right there. Okay. So after that, we then have it in Pullman, Washington itself, driving around. You know, some of these aren't the greatest shots in the world, but this one right here, you kind of see it. Let's just go at the very beginning. So you can see right there, it doesn't have fog lights on. If fog lights are on, it would be lit up down here. So this is the same vehicle, and you can even track it into Pullman as it comes up Stadium Way off of the highway. So there's that one, and then here's another one. See, that does not have the fog lights on, 100%. And you can even make out again the little area where the fog lights would be if they existed. And then here comes the vehicle, and it makes a turn. And this is Cougar Way, that's what I was thinking. And as it's turning, you can absolutely see again with crystal clarity that that is the opening where the fog lights would have been. So this is Kohberger coming back. His cell phone matches exactly what this car is doing. And of course, we know that Kohberger confessed and admitted to killing Madison Mogen, Kaylee Gonzalez, Ethan Chapin, and Xander Kernodle on November 13th, 2022. Now, you have YouTubers out there that fail to see the significance of any of this stuff, and they intentionally try to trick their viewers on a daily basis into believing in ghosts and goblins and conspiracy theories and all kinds of craziness. Now, you might hear me say that and go, gosh, Gray, they're just trying to investigate. You stopped investigating. I've been investigating this the whole time. I'm just putting all the pieces of the puzzle together. The truth is yes, they originally thought that the white Elantra driving around with fog lights at 2:45 in the morning in Pullman was the white Elantra of Kohberger because his phone was in the general area at the same time. However, it turns out that Kohberger does not have fog lights on his vehicle, and that footage, while mentioned on the probable cause document, was not significant whatsoever in having a judge determine that there's probable cause. The DNA on the knife sheath and the fact that a white Elantra is driving around in the area is very important. And every single shot that you have in Moscow, Idaho, shows that there are no fog lights. In fact, there isn't one photograph that you can even go, oh, look, see, there's fog lights on it. That doesn't exist of any of the Elantra surveillance shots from Moscow, Idaho. So these people, they keep selling the same story to their viewers, knowing that a lot of their viewers aren't going to take the time to, figure out what the truth is. And they're just going to tell their viewers what they think they want to hear. The reality is YouTubers who are in the true crime genre, their mantra should be to put out the truth and the facts of the case, despite what their viewers want them to say. That is the reality. They aren't going to do it because their whole industry is based on perpetuating a lie that Kohberger isn't the killer in the Idaho 4 murder case merely for their likes and views and income that they make on their videos. All right, so thank you all very much for watching. Really appreciate it. Let me know in the comments what you think. And as I always say, until next time, be safe out there.